Okay, so night one of WrestleMania 37 is in the books, and oh boy, well, we opened up with a rain delay. Tampa Bay is the thunderstorm capital of the world, so I guess it isn't that surprising something like this happened. But I mean, even before that, they said, hey, there were a couple of short delays hours before that, and they said it was clear, and then suddenly it was back again. I don't know the exact length of it. I want to say it was about maybe 30 to 35 minutes. They did some kind of opening. They had the kickoff show that went off without a hitch. They did some opening ceremonies. Vince McMahon came out to address the crowd that was there. Everyone was on stage and did some clapping. They played America the Beautiful. Then they did the big intro vignette thing, and then when they came out of it, that's when the rain delay was called. So, yeah, somewhere in between all of that, where that all happened. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, it went on for, I would say, about half an hour, 35 minutes, and then the people began filing in. They had the hosts, Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan, come out to kind of kill some time. And you could tell that their flow was interrupted because they were just waiting, because it's like, hey, we need to maybe stretch this out a little bit more, let some more people sit down. But eventually we started off with the WWE Championship match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. So yeah, one more thing I forgot to mention. Tom Phillips was unable to call this because of something with COVID protocols. Whether he has it, I don't know. But yeah, he had to go into isolation. And it's kind of a shame because, one, I don't hate Tom Phillips. I thought, he's been a pretty good announcer for a long time, and back in the NXT days all the way to now. I think he was good on SmackDown, he was good on Raw, but reportedly they're already phasing him out to replace him with Adnan Virk from ESPN, formerly of ESPN. So yeah, anyway, the Lashley McIntyre match, right off the bat, Lashley countered a headbutt with a big shoulder block. McIntyre hit a snap belly-to-belly suplex. Lashley speared McIntyre in the corner and then followed that with a big neck breaker. McIntyre hit an armbar attack and then tried to lock it into an arm breaker type hold. McIntyre came back, hit a neck breaker, followed with a Northern Lights suplex. Lashley hit his Dominator-like maneuver and then countered another headbutt into a spine buster. Lashley attempted to put on the Hurt Lock, and McIntyre reversed it into the inverted Alabama Slam. Lashley countered a Claymore with a spine buster. McIntyre came back. He had 3 future shot DDTs. That was enough. MVP started to interfere in the match at this point, tried to pull Lashley out of it. McIntyre locked Lashley in a Kimura. MVP got him to the ropes in time and started trying to pull out for a count-out loss, basically, so the title couldn't change hands. But McIntyre hit a big suicide plancha to the outside. He didn't quite clear the ropes. They showed it in the replay. He just barely grazed it with his stomach. But yeah, he took them out. He got back in the ring, went for a Claymore, but MVP distracted him long enough for Lashley to catch McIntyre in the Hurt Lock, and this time McIntyre passed out. So Lashley actually retains. I'm in kind of a mixed bag on this. I mean, it's nice that Lashley's going to get a longer title reign than previously planned, but at the same time, I don't like that, again, we build Drew up to be this big guy who can be mostly unstoppable, and, he loses. Again, like, this was being done to get him his WrestleMania moment in front of fans, and then he doesn't get it. It just rings hollow to me. I'm sorry. Drew doesn't look weak because he passed out instead of tapping out, but still, it just leaves kind of a sour taste in my mouth. The match itself was all right. Definitely a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, especially when I found out that it was going to be the first match and not the the main event, as previously indicated, that they switched it with the the SmackDown Women's Championship match, which we'll get to. But yeah, again, like the match itself was fine. I don't agree with Lashley winning. I think Mania is the time you have that championship change hands, or you don't have a championship match in that scenario. It doesn't. Like I said, it kind of left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Okay, our next match is the Women's Tag Team Turmoil Gauntlet match. Naomi and Lana against Carmella and Billie Kay, who were added on Friday. Versus the Riot Squad versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Tamina and Natalya. The winner's getting a shot at the Women's Tag Team Champions tomorrow. So, okay. Naomi and Lana were the first ones out, and then Carmella and Billie Kay, who like I said earlier, they were added on Friday. That's why they're not in any of the pictures I'm showing you. Sorry. Anyway, they came out early on. Naomi and Lana were working pretty well. Naomi landed some kicks, sending Carmella in the corner. Lana had a big tilt-a-whirl head scissors. They had a double face bomb on Billie Kay. But then Mella interfered, broke up the pin, and what she did was she sort of snookered herself into using a leverage pin where Billie Kay had a roll up, and then Mella put her feet on Billie Kay and then used the ropes for some extra leverage to get the quick 3 count of the victory. So, yeah, that went my prediction. So, yeah, I guess we're never going to get closure on that whole Nia Jax keeps Samoa dropping Lana through the announce table. And then the Riot Squad came out. This was all done one at a time. Like I said, it was kind of a gauntlet match style. The Riot Squad came out. Carmella and Billie Kay tried the same maneuver, but this time the ref caught it. And the Riot Squad then hit a senton bomb and backstabber combo on, I believe it was Carmella for the 3 count of the victory. And then came Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Oh dear. They came out. Mandy slipped on the entrance ramp and fell on her butt. They were both wearing these very low-cut, very revealing pink outfits. Dana came in and hit a couple of good moves, including this nice sort of flipping neck breaker, and in the process had a wardrobe malfunction. And yeah, obviously I don't have that picture shown, but if you want to look on the internet, you could probably find it. And it happened a couple more times, but yeah. But the Riot Squad eventually eliminated Mandy and Dana with, I believe it was they countered a senton into a small package for the 3 count, where again Dana fell out of her top. And out came Natalya and Tamina. The Riot Squad managed to hit another senton backstabber combo, but only got a 2 count. Natalya then Natalya and Tamina then hit a heart attack on, I believe it was Liv Morgan. It was Ruby Riott, my mistake. They hit the heart attack on Ruby Riott, and then Tamina followed with a Superfly Splash for the 3 count of the victory. So Natalya and Tamina will be facing Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championships tomorrow night. It's heel versus heel, so I don't know what they're going to do with this exactly. And overall, it is nice because I've always said Natalya has always been one of the more underrated competitors in the women's division. You know, she was doing pretty good work rate back when they were still the Divas, and you could see where she helped kind of change a lot of that attitude. And you know, so again, getting her a nice WrestleMania moment is pretty good. And again, Tamina's been with the company for 11 years. Has not won a pay-per-view match except for a brief 24/7 championship reign. I believe that was in 2019. She pinned R-Truth on, I want to say it was Hell in a Cell. I may be wrong on that. It was one of the fall pay-per-views. She pinned R-Truth. And so, again, it's nice that that's happening. And, you know, it's not bad, but again, it's just like, what about Lana? Why did we never get closure on the whole, you know, Jackson Baszler keep beating up Lana storyline? You know, we were supposed to get that in December, but then she got injured or whatever. Someone changed their mind, and then that fell apart. But then she comes back, and she's still getting her butt kicked. So the closure's supposed to come at some point, right? Okay, our next match is Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. It began with the Rollins propaganda ad playing again about how Cesaro was unfit to be at WrestleMania. Cesaro, right off the bat, he had a big European uppercut. He tried to go for the swing. Rollins fought out of it. Cesaro came back with a springboard European uppercut. Rollins fought another swing attempt, but he came back and hit the buckle bomb. Rollins hit his superplex Falcon Arrow combo. Cesaro came back with a series of uppercuts, then a discus lariat. Rollins then attempted to, again, he kept trying to counter the swing. This time he tried to counter the swing into a roll-up pin. Cesaro eventually hit a swing, got the swing on, locked on the sharpshooter, but Rollins got to the ropes. Rollins dodged an uppercut, and Cesaro hit the turnbuckle. Rollins came back, hit a big corkscrew frog splash type maneuver. Cesaro, he went for the ripcord knee, but Cesaro countered that, hit his finisher, the neutralizer. Only got a 2 count on that, though. Rollins then hit a pedigree, only got a 2 count on that. Rollins then hit as sort of that new back kick maneuver that he had debuted at the previous pay-per-view. It was actually a very impressive, like I said, it's still pretty impressive. He then went for the stomp, but Cesaro countered that with an uppercut and then did 23 swings and followed that through with the neutralizer for the 3 count and the victory. So, good Cesaro victory here. I'm glad I was wrong on that one. It just, again, you're always wondering, Cesaro's needed that push for so long and he hasn't really gotten it outside the tag division. Yeah, again, can this finally start the Cesaro singles push? So maybe now that it seems they're fully behind him at this point. Okay, so let's just go to the next match, which is the Raw Tag Team Championship match, New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. Big E got to introduce the New Day again, and this left me with some questions because also AJ Styles slipped on the stage during his entrance as well. I guess things had completely dried off at that point. Anyway, this is where I got confused because the New Day were acting really heelish during this. They brought back, Francine with the trombone playing, and again, Woods was yelling things during the match. He was early on, like they goaded AJ Styles into entering the match, even though Omos wanted to start. They said, "No, we want AJ. We want AJ." What? You're chicken? You need the big guy to fight for you, and that got AJ into the match. Again, they just beat on AJ the whole time, so it's like, okay, well, you're building to Omos getting the hot tag, but I thought AJ and Omos were the heels here. Are the New Day heels now? This is kind of where it gets confusing. Kofi hit a big back suplex on Styles. The New Day isolated Styles, as I said, hit the Unicorn Stampede on him. Styles attempted to get to Omos by rolling outside the ring and running around the other end, but Kofi caught him off and, so it didn't work. Styles fought out of a double team maneuver and eventually got the tag to Omos. Omos grabbed Kofi by one arm and just kind of threw him to one side. He then, he put Xavier into a standing bow and arrow hold. Styles then came in and hit the phenomenal forearm off of Omos' shoulders onto, I believe it was Xavier, knocking him out of the ring, and Omos hit Kofi with basically this big spinebuster powerbomb-like maneuver to cover him with one foot for the 3 count and the victory. So, yes, AJ Styles and Omos are tag team champions. Again, New Day could take the loss. I was a little confused. Are we supposed to be happy they won? Or are they, because really, New Day were acting like the heels during this match. AJ and Omos were acting like the good guys. Omos gets the hot tag, so yeah, I guess New Day are heels now. Okay, our next match is the steel cage match between Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman. Jerry Lawler was actually the special commentator for this match, and Michael Cole made reference to the fact that it was their 10-year anniversary of the match they had at WrestleMania 27, which is much better forgotten. Anyway, as Strowman was making his entrance, Elias and Riker jumped out of the crowd and attacked him with a chair, hitting his leg several times. They gave the chair to Shane, who hit Strowman with the chair inside the cage. Shane then took a piece of metal paneling off the top of the cage and attacked Strowman with it. Strowman came back. He splashed Shane against the cage a couple of times. Shane came back. He hit the Van Terminator, or the Coast to Coast as they call it. Elias and Riker then tried to help Shane crawl out, but Strowman fought back. He knocked all three off. Shane, they up at the top of the ring. I think they had some kind of dry sacks to keep the tool assembly cases safe, just in case. Shane pulled out a toolbox from one of those and hit Strowman in the head. Looked like he had everything in the clear, but then he just had to taunt Strowman by sticking his hand through a little hole in the cage and was waving. And Strowman got up and grabbed that arm, pulled Shane through the cage, set Shane up on top of the stage, threw Shane off the cage, but back into the ring, and then hit the running power slam for the victory. This match was, at least Shane lost. Like I said, I saw him going up, and when I saw Strowman grab Shane, I'm like, oh, this is where he's going to blow it. And again, Braun will look stupid because that's the whole thing that they were setting up. But no, thankfully they went against that and actually had Braun win this time. So I guess I had that going for it. This thing was too long. Again, this needed to be Shane immediately trying to work his way out of the cage, not constantly pounding Braun and then Braun, magically recovering because Shane, or something happening like that. Just again, I think it took too long. It needed to be much shorter. And okay, our next match is the tag match between Miz and Morrison versus Damian, Priest, and Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny came down on a tank while Miz and Morrison were accompanied by a warren of bunnies in costumes. One of the bunnies lost their glove in the middle of the ring as that happened. Anyway, right off the bat, Damian Priest wanted to start off, but Miz and Morrison insisted that Bad Bunny start the match, which he did. Bunny landed a couple punches on Miz. He hit an arm drag. He countered a hip toss with an arm drag. He hit a big tilt-a-whirl head scissors, and then hit a headbutt on Morrison. But that enabled Miz to land a quick cheap shot, and from there on, Miz and Morrison basically kind of dominated. They knocked Bad Bunny around a bit. Every time Bad Bunny would hit something, would do something like he attempted a sunset flip, but Miz rolled out of it, came back with a big boot. Eventually, Damian Priest got the hot tag. He had a big spin kick on Miz. He then suplexed Miz into Morrison. They tried to get out of the ring, but then Priest hit a plancha to the outside, and then Bad Bunny followed with a big crossbody. And they got back into the ring. Miz tried to get a quick skull-crushing finale, but Bad Bunny broke it up, and that enabled Priest and Bad Bunny to get a double-team crossbody so they could pin Miz for the 3-count of victory. Also, I forgot, Bad Bunny hit Morrison with a Canadian Destroyer outside the ring, which was entertaining, I'll give it that. Overall, the match was good. It's just, I think, again, this one went a little too long. A little too much of the beating up on Bad Bunny. He should have had his comeback a little bit earlier in the match, and I think it would have worked better. Just, again, I don't like dead spots, especially in tag team matches. And again, given the rain delay, they probably should have shortened a couple of these matches down to better fit this in. But still, this was very enjoyable. Definitely was a surprise show stealer, I think, on this one. Though I wouldn't put it at the match of the night just yet. And that leads us into our main event, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Right off the bat, during her intro, Bianca Belair actually began tearing up already, which, even right after the ring bell, Sasha kind of called her out and was like, hey, you can't be doing this now. We gotta wait, Anyway, right off the bat, Banks began pulling on, Banks began pulling on Belair's really long ponytail. Eventually, Belair kind of caught wind of this and started trying to fight out of it. Banks fought out of a torture rack and almost fell into the camera on the outside of the ring. So, oops. Banks and Belair got some body shots on each other. Let's see. Banks got Belair. Again, kept pulling the ponytail. She sent Bianca into the ring post. Sasha then attempted to do a suicide dive, but Bianca caught her, rolled through, then press slammed Sasha back into the ring, and from there Bianca kind of came back and began dominating really hard. Belair pulled up again. Banks tried to pull the ponytail, but this time Bianca wasn't having it. Pulled Sasha into the ring post, sent her into the ring steps. She blocked a Meteora into a spine buster, and then hit a super long delayed suplex with a couple of slingshots thrown in there too. Belair came back, hit a standing shooting star press. She went for a 450, but Sasha got the knees up. Banks countered a powerbomb with a face buster. Sasha, they said she was going for a Meteor and then changed it into a splash halfway through. She went for a frog splash. I don't know why they suddenly changed that name. But still, she had a frog splash. Then she started setting Bianca up for the bank statement by snapping her arm over the bottom rope. Again, Sasha used the ponytail, this time to lock on the bank statement. At this point, Belair was trying to get to the ropes, and Sasha did the whole push the ropes off and roll back, but Bianca managed to counter roll forward and got back into the ropes again. It was a very cool looking maneuver. But Banks blocked a head scissor. No, what did I write here? Heads. Maybe it was a head scissors. But Belair, she basically tried to set up the double stomp in the corner. Belair avoided it. Sasha looked like she maybe tweaked her knee. And I'm trying to think what Belair did in the process. I think, no, she dodged another Meteor. That's what happened. Sasha fell back down. Bianca gets up and hits a 450 splash, but only gets a 2 count on it. Again, and now Sasha tries to pull the hair one more time. Again, Bianca's just not having any of it. Grabs it and whips Sasha, leaving a giant welt. This is something that Bianca used to do in NXT. She would just whip people with the hair and just, again, you would see the blood draw. Like, it would just go whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I always wondered why she stopped doing it. It was a great thing to, like, I understand maybe you want to save it for big matches, but, you know, she hasn't, yeah, anyway. It's nice to see that happening again. And then we had, Sasha fought out of a couple KOD attempts, tried to, again, go for another backstabber, but Bianca blocked it. This time hit the KOD, gets the 3 count in the victory. Michael Cole initially thought Sasha kicked out at one point, but it's just the way it was pinned. You know, Sasha was, because she's so flexible, she sometimes can just fold up really easily like that. So, yeah, she folded, but no, Bianca Belair got the 3 count in the victory. She is now the SmackDown Women's Champion. And boy, this match was great, just on the fact that the build for it was so terrible. Like I said, a lot, you know, when Bianca Belair won the Women's Royal Rumble, everyone was really excited to see this match, and through every bit of booking, it just got that interest dropped and dropped and dropped. And so much so that when they said this was going to be the main event for night 1, people were like, you know, okay, you know, that's great, but, you know, we wanted it back when it was here, and now we're right here, and now everyone's kind of confused. But still, it really lived up to being the main event. It should have been the main event. It was a great match. Great way to cap off night 1. Night 1 overall, kind of, I'm willing to cut a lot of slack for the rain delay. You know, things like that happen sometimes, so, you know, I won't completely poo-poo on it, but again, I thought some of the matches were a little too drawn out, needed to be tighter. Other than that, though, this, like I said, this was really enjoyable, really fun. Obviously, I missed out a lot of my predictions. I'm not counting the SmackDown ones I made, but still, this is pretty good, and I'm looking forward to night 2.
You know, you never know when you're going to get injured and miss work. That's why I have that supplemental insurance.
What supplemental insurance? Aflac.
It's one that pays you cash for things like lost pay and other expenses.
What one? Aflac.
Just ask about it at work, right?
What did you say it was?
Aflac!
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Dave Chappelle here. I'm setting this guy up on a blind date to show that right guard extreme sport works under the most extreme conditions. Ladies! You gotta get a number, dog. See? Extreme protection against odor and wetness. Love hurts. Goes on clear, doesn't quit. You guys are really hitting it off.
Right Guard Extreme Sport. Get extreme. Get Right Guard.
Call us! That one will.
Thank you.
Okay, here we are, night 2 of WrestleMania 37, and on the plus side, no rain delay this time. Anyway, let's get right to this. The first match on the show was Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Basically, as The Fiend was making his entrance, you saw him backstage, you saw the burns all magically heal on him, so he was rejuvenated completely, and then Alexa Bliss came down to the ring. Orton was already in the ring at this point. And she had this big jack-in-the-box sitting there, and she used that to summon The Fiend. The Fiend came out and hit Orton with a flying clothesline right off the jack-in-the-box. The two fought a little bit. They got to the outside of the ring. Orton went for a back suplex on the announce table. The Fiend countered that into the mandible claw. Basically sprung up right from that and hit the mandible claw. Got back in the ring. Orton hit 3 hangman DDTs. He went for the RKO, the Fiend blocked it, put him in the mandible claw. He then went for Sister Abigail, only for Alexa Bliss to suddenly change in some way. She picked up this crown of iron. I guess she's gone full Sister Abigail now, and she's not pleased with Bray at this point, so she distracted him, which enabled Orton to hit the RKO and win the match. That's it. So, yeah. It was already weird that they were having this match without any type of stipulation, and I think sort of adding the atmosphere into it was pretty good, but to have Orton win just doesn't make any sense. You don't do this now. Exactly. You have him get the win back, and then maybe down the line you hint the idea that Alexa is becoming more possessed by the Sister Abigail spirit. You don't do this at this point. It's just stupid, because now you made the Fiend look incompetent, and he should never look like that. He's supposed to look like an unstoppable monster. Anyway, our next match is the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. Basically, Natalya reversed a choke attempt and tried to put a sharpshooter on Baszler. It didn't really work. When Nia Jax tagged in, she immediately demanded that Tamina also get tagged into the ring. They both headbutted each other when that happened. Natalya and Tamina then suplexed Baszler onto Jax. Oh boy. Natalya slingshot Shayna Baszler into a super kick from Tamina. Baszler had a big jumping knee on Natalya to fight back into the match. Eventually Tamina got the hot tag again. Fought through body slammed Nia Jax, went for a splash, but Nia rolled out of the way. Tamina managed to get the tag back to Natalya, who came in guns blazing. Began to get upper hand on Nia Jax, and put her in the sharpshooter, but unaware to her, Shayna Baszler blind tagged into the match and put Natalya in the Kirifuda clutch to choke her out and win the match. Not a bad match, a lot of high impact moves. Definitely makes Natalya and Tamina look like a threat. They should probably be tag team champions. I can understand not pulling the trigger on that. I felt like, if you put them through the tag team turmoil match and then make them have a match the next night, it just sort of makes sense. And again, a heel versus heel, it doesn't quite make sense to have the championships change hands the way they did. And like I said, going into it, I thought that Nia and Shayna were probably going to retain anyway, because there's just no real... now with Natalya and Tamina, they look like quality threats at least. So there's that, but going into it, there really was no quality threats in the women's tag division at all. So in a way, it makes sense to have them retain. Okay, our next match is Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn with special guest Logan Paul. Paul was just in Zayn's corner. He took a seat at ringside and did oohs and ahs whenever a big move happened. And there were plenty of big moves. Right off the bat, Owens hit a pop-up powerbomb. Zayn came back. He hit a back apron. He blocked the powerbomb into the ring apron. Owens hit a cannonball. Zayn rolled out of a sling. But what did I write here? Rolled out of a senton attempt to avoid. Came back. Zayn hit a brainbuster on the ring apron. At one point, Zayn hit a Michinoku driver, and Paul actually approved of hitting that. Cole called that a Blue Thunder bomb, and got taken to task for another goof up. I don't know what happened. Again, I know Michael Cole's not the most beloved announcer, but he can be competent at times. Boy, was he just off today. I don't know. He's been off this whole WrestleMania. Maybe because he had to call so many matches that he just wasn't prepared for. Anyway, Owens headbutted Zayn off the top rope and then followed with a big frog splash. Zayn hit an exploder suplex. He tried to go for a Luva kick, but Owens dodged it and hit a super kick. Owens hit another super kick and then hit the center for the 3 count of the victory. Afterwards, Logan Paul came in and congratulated Kevin Owens. Zayn was upset because now he thinks Logan Paul is part of the conspiracy. He thinks everyone's against him. And Paul basically punched Zayn, and Owens stunned Paul. So, okay, like, you still get the idea that he still cares about Sami at this point. They're still friends deep down, but yeah, he knows that Sami's on a path that he just can't be on. He needs to try to get off. So maybe this could lead to something down the line. I don't know. I don't think it's going to involve Logan Paul, though, hopefully. Overall, I thought the match was, pretty good. It was a good Steam Generico match, but very muted in some aspects. Definitely a lot of high-impact moves. Definitely, you saw the selling there. I think it was better than most of their matches that were in 2015 were, so at least they had that going for them. And they knew how to make this feel like a special WrestleMania moment. So at least I'll give them kudos there. This was a pretty darn good match. Okay, the next match is the United States Championship match, Riddle versus Sheamus. Right off the bat, Sheamus tried to put an armbar on Riddle, but he fought out of it and hit a bunch of strikes. Sheamus hit kind of a swinging sidewalk slam. Sheamus hit the Irish Curse backbreaker. Riddle clotheslined Sheamus, or caught Sheamus in a top rope triangle hold. Riddle came back, hit a big belly superplex. Riddle hit a jackhammer. Sheamus hit a bicycle kick and an Alabama slam. Riddle hit a German suplex. Then Sheamus flipped out of a rear naked choke attempt, got to the ropes, and Sheamus hit the white noise and then tried to do a top rope knee drop. I don't think he quite got all of it. So Riddle came in, he hit some more moves. He went for an Asai moon, or a lion salt, but Sheamus caught him with the brogue kick, covered for the 3 count of the victory. So Sheamus is your new United States champion. Admittedly, a bit of a shock. I think, Riddle had some momentum behind him. I don't know why they did this. But, it was overall a pretty good match, especially the way they did it, where Sheamus just catches Riddle in the mid-moonsault. I think that really worked a lot, and definitely added a bit more intensity to this, because it was a good fight right up into that. And the funny thing is, my dad was watching this with me. He got up to go to the bathroom. He comes back and he's like, "What? It's over?" It's like, I thought it was going to go on for more. Yeah, so even that kind of summed everything up. Like, that ending kind of came out of nowhere, but it was a good setup to the ending. So overall, yeah, it was a pretty darn good match. And that leads us into our next match, which is the Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship, Big E versus Apollocruz. So what is a Nigerian drum match? Basically no disqualification. Though they put a bunch of drums around ringside, so okay. Yeah, it's no disqualification, no countouts. It's not false count anywhere, but yeah, the only way to win was pinfall or submission. And they both started off with their the classic Nigerian weapon known as the kendo stick. Both men are assaulting each other with the kendo sticks. Big E eventually took Apollo and threw him into a gong, which had also been set up outside the ring. Big E speared Apollo off the ropes. Apollo came back, hit a Death Valley driver on the apron. He tried to then set up a sandwich in between the ring steps. Basically, he was going to take... Big E was on one of the ring steps. Apollo was going to take it, and much like he did earlier this year, where he dropped the ring steps over the top rope and caught Big E with it. He was going to do the same thing. Big E fought out of that and hit... I think it was a Uranagi on the ring steps, and Apollo came back though. Big E got Apollo in the ring and tried to pin him because that was the only way he could win the match. Big E caught him with an enziguri, knocking him back on the table. Apollo then went for a frog splash. Big E rolled out of the way, hit the big ending, and just as that happened, Dabba-Kato came out of the crowd, or as he's now calling himself, Commander Aziz, came out of the crowd and jumped Big E, hit a big choke slam, and pulled Apollo on top to cover for the 3 count of victory. So Apollocruz is the new Intercontinental Champion. I think this kind of worked for me in a way. Again, this helps make Apollo look more as a heel, more like, he just squeaked by. He needed someone else's help to win. It made Big E kind of look strong because, again, he had to be caught off guard. Not like what happened with Drew McIntyre, which I think, that was kind of blown. Yeah, exactly. Like, they didn't the McIntyre match, if I may go back to that briefly, when MVP interfered and distracted McIntyre, all he basically said was, "True!" And that's, all that happened. Like, he didn't hit him with his cane, he didn't reach out and try to trip him or anything. Like, he just said, "Drew," and that was enough. Like, that's stupid. That makes Drew look stupid. This makes Big E still look pretty strong in the end, and it makes Apollocruz look more lucky, for lack of a better term. And again, maybe now we can do some things with Apollo and help push him up, because he probably should have gotten a push a decent time ago if he had just had a more refined character. So he's got a refined character. It looks like he's building, I don't know if a new faction, but he's got his new underlings. So again, this should look good for Apollo in the future. Okay, the next match is the Raw Women's Championship match, Rhea Ripley against Asuka. Or Asuka versus Rhea Ripley, I should say. Anyway, right off the bat, Asuka delivered a big drop kick to Rhea, but didn't knock her off her feet at all. Asuka hit a dropped hold into the turnbuckle, however. Rhea Ripley dodged a hip attack and landed a big side kick. Asuka countered a kick into an attempted knee bar. Rhea Ripley fought out of the knee bar and hit a big German suplex. Ripley drop kick Asuka off the top rope. Asuka did eventually hit a missile drop kick. Outside the ring, Rhea hit an electric chair facebuster into the ring apron. Asuka then came back and hit a big kind of implant DDT off the ring apron. But Asuka went for the Shining Wizard. Rhea blocked it. Went into her kind of cloverleaf finisher. I never learned what the name of that thing is. I know it's like Rip something, but it's not the Rip Tide. That's a different one. But yeah, that cloverleaf submission hold she puts people in. Asuka fought out of a waist lock, put on the Asuka lock, but Ripley managed to get to the ropes. Asuka went for a running hip attack, but immediately Ripley caught her and hit the Riptide for the 3-count of victory. Good match. Really fun. Did a good job telling the story. I mean, for something that was kind of cobbled, not quite last minute, but again, this was originally supposed to be Asuka and Charlotte, but then Charlotte got COVID. So, yeah, again, for something that was kind of a last-minute replacement, I think they did a good job. They made Ripley look strong and virtually unstoppable. Again, Asuka still looks strong in this. It took one little slip up to get caught, kind of like Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks yesterday. Exactly, it took that one little slip to get caught, and that's what happened. And again, hopefully, maybe now we can, get some new women's storylines going here. And hopefully things can turn out for the best. Like, again, we get kind of a new generation to feud with this older generation of women getting ready to move on and elevate things. So, again, the women's division's looking pretty good right now in WWE. Okay, and that leads us into our final match of the evening, or night in this case. It's the triple threat match for the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. Right off the bat, Reigns went after Bryan and hit a big forearm shiver. Reigns brought Paul Heyman and Jey Uso with him to the ring. Uso immediately got involved. He super kicked Bryan and threw him into the ring steps. He super kicked Edge, tried to throw him into the ring steps, but Edge came back and threw Uso into the ring steps. He then hit an implant DDT on Uso, which took him out of the match for almost the rest of it. Edge tried to throw Reigns into the post. At one point, Reigns had already taken the top off the announce table, but Bryan came back and landed some kicks on Edge. Edge attempted a sunset flip. Reigns blocked a suicide dive from Daniel Bryan, hit a big belly-to-belly on the outside of the ring. Edge countered a Superman punch into an implant DDT. Reigns countered a spear attempt with a Superman punch. Reigns and Edge then speared each other in a move I'm surprised it went off as well as it did, because it's... I mean, when you have the two guys flying at each other, you got to make sure you hit it just right, or else... Yeah. Bryan came in, he hit yes kicks on both men. He put Reigns in the yes lock, but Edge broke it up. He attempted to put Edge into the yes lock, but then Reigns broke that up and began pounding Bryan's head into the mat again. He then took Bryan outside the ring and set the ring steps up in front of the announce table and used that to perform a powerbomb on Bryan, sending him through the announce table. Edge then speared Reigns in the ring. He grabbed some chairs to go for a concerto. At one point, he put Reigns in a crossface and used a broken piece of the chair that had fallen off at one point as kind of a brace. But then Daniel Bryan got in and he put Reigns in the yes lock. And so they had to basically fight each other off to try to get Reigns to tap out for them, basically. as this was happening, Edge again got another spear out, grabbed chairs, set up for concertos, hit Bryan with a concerto, was moving to hit Reigns when Jey Uso returned and attacked Edge, and that enabled Reigns to get a big spear and hit Edge with a concerto. He then dragged Edge over on top of Bryan and then pinned both of them for the 3 count of the victory, so Roman Reigns retains. This, again, was a really good match. It probably was the match of the night, really. It did a great job of telling the story. Again, Reigns looked super dominant and super powerful, but he still needed help from other people to win. So, again, you see where this Roman Reigns heel run is really starting to take off. And again, I felt that Reigns really needed to retain just because I didn't see, Bryan again is the last minute addition, and that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And again, I was not high on Edge winning the Royal Rumble and getting the title shot against Reigns. It just didn't really make any sense to do that. So again, when you could have you could have had Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. I think it would have worked just as well. And I think Roman needs like a good year plus championship reign here to go into next year's WrestleMania. I know everyone says he's going to face The Rock. He's not going to face The Rock. If The Rock competes in another professional wrestling match, he will lose his SAG insurance. So no, it's not going to happen. Okay, people? Just, I hate that. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, my overall thoughts on Night 2, and Night 2 was not as good as Night 1. I think it was a major step back. I mean, again, most of the matches were kind of blah. Like, Owens and Zayn was good. Riddle and Sheamus was good, but it wasn't entirely over the title change there, but still was an alright match. Like, they were pretty good matches, so I'm not entirely poo-pooing on them, but again, Orton Fiend was just Owens and Zayn was alright. The women's tag match was, again, it was alright, but again, just it didn't feel like a WrestleMania match. It just kind of felt like this was a really good pay-per-view match, and it felt like the leftovers got shifted to Night 2, basically, except for the triple threat match and the Raw Women's Championship match. Like, everything else didn't, it just kind of felt very passé. And I mean, and given how strong Night 1 was, I could see where maybe people could, maybe that is a little bit of a hangover thing going on. I mean, at least it wasn't rain delayed again. That's about all I can say there. So yeah, it wasn't as good as Night 1. It does kind of deduct my score a little bit. Like I said, I was pretty much at an A after Night 1. I was willing to cut a lot of slack for that rain delay. Again, that's stuff that's really out of your hands, but I think they did a great job with the presentation and everything. Like I said, I had a couple problems with some of the matches, but again, most of them were pretty good. This one, I think the matches were a lot more pedestrian, unfortunately. Like I said, these were the weaker matches. They felt like the leftover matches. And yeah, it kind of came across like, yeah, this is, when you have Thanksgiving dinner and then, you have turkey sandwiches for supper that night. So yeah, that's basically the equivalent of this. Like I said, it's not bad, not great. Like, overall, I'm going to give the show a B. Like, just because Night 2 was weaker, I think it's a B grade is perfectly fine for this. There. Okay, so I believe the next video is going to be the complete series recap for Falcon and Winter Soldier, then the random trade review on Ghostbusters Answer the Call, and then Stowaway, which is a Netflix original that's coming out. That's probably going to be the week after that. After that, the next wrestling show is WrestleMania Backlash. So I guess WWE is just going to call all their pay-per-views WrestleMania now. It'll be WrestleMania Backlash, WrestleMania Money in the Bank, WrestleMania SummerSlam. Why not at this point? WrestleMania Backlash, which is on May 16th. So see you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.